And we have some more breaking news in the NBA. The Brooklyn Nets are planning to hire Ime Udoka as their next head coach. This has been confirmed by our Bill Ryder. Now, the Celtics suspended Udoka this season due to an improper workplace relationship, and they're reportedly willing to let him leave. Now, this news emerged just hours after the Nets fired Steve Nash. Udoka worked on Nash's staff in Brooklyn before taking the Boston job. Jacques Vaughn is the interim coach and will be on the bench tonight against the Bulls. And here to talk about this breaking news, we do want to bring in our own Bill Ryder. So, Bill, initial thoughts when you're hearing this? Seems like a quick decision. We were just talking about the Nets parting ways with Steve Nash, and now we're talking about a new head coach. So what are your initial reactions here?
You're right, Jacqueline. It is fast, and it is, I think, on first blush, it's a thunderbolt. It really is sort of a little overwhelming. But if you, just for the nature of why Udoka is suspended and why that Boston Celtics team would let him leave that organization. But on closer examination, for me, if you're willing to look the other way on the accusations and whatever happened with that inappropriate personal relationship with someone at work, it checks all the boxes. The guy's obviously an accomplished head coach. He made it to the NBA Finals last year, leading that Celtics team. And I think as importantly, and we talked about this on HQ right after the Nash news came down, this is a person who's not just well-liked, beloved really by players. He's a player's coach, also an excellent X's and O's coach. He's been on that staff with Steve Nash, formerly the head coach in Brooklyn. And that means that Brooklyn has already been able to assess how he's going to get along with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, the guys that really matter, that really have, I think Durant in particular, the power in that organization. So it's huge news. It's super fascinating. It obviously involves a guy who's available for all the wrong reasons, but it's one of the few guys in the NBA who you know can coach at a high level and who the Nets already know get along with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
And Bill, we touched on it. Celtics suspending Udoka because of those improper workplace relationships. Are you surprised that the Nets are looking the other way?
Certainly my first reaction. I can tell you this. I've asked, when the NBA season begins, you make the rounds, you make a bunch of calls, you talk to as many GMs and folks that are high-level executives around the NBA as possible, and almost every person I've asked, and they haven't liked the question, Jacqueline, but I've asked, do you think Udoka is going to work again in the NBA? And while I didn't get an unequivocal, absolute, he'll never work again, people either didn't want to talk about it or were unsure. It was a reasonable level of speculation, and the few people that wanted to engage in that talk around the NBA said to me, look, when time goes by, when days and weeks become months, you've seen lots of people get second chances. The fact that it's this fast, it's this immediate, it's with a team that I know that's presumed to be a contender, that's obviously loaded with talent, and that's also loaded with a whole lot of on- and off-court ugliness and drama, it is absolutely surprising, even if, again, it makes sense from the Nets' perspective in terms of they know what he's about and presumably they know how he can work with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
And Bill, just to clarify, that suspension came from the Celtics, not the league. So that means that he is available to coach right away?
That's right. I mean, this was a matter involving the Boston Celtics, and we don't know all the information, but we do know, because it's been made public, he was suspended indefinitely without reportedly, and I've confirmed this as well, any assurances he would be back as the head coach in Boston for some kind of unprofessional, improper relationship involving someone in the organization. And I can tell you this, Jacqueline, again, talking to folks around the NBA, no one really knew or wanted to speculate on Udoka's long-term future. No one I talked to really believed he was ever going to coach the Boston Celtics again. That seemed clear if you read between the lines. So it's a Boston Celtics decision. It's a Boston Celtics matter. And obviously the Brooklyn Nets, with what they do or don't know about it, are comfortable bringing him in to Brooklyn.
And Bill, putting that aside, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, saying that Udoka is a player's coach. And obviously, we talked about this on HQ before as well. The Nets having a lot of big personalities in their locker room, KD, Kyrie Irving. You're confident that he can kind of manage those big personalities and be able to, I guess, get in that locker room and handle those type of guys?
Yeah, great question. I don't have a lot of confidence, frankly, in this basketball team being NBA champions for all the reasons we've talked about, all the drama, all the things with Kyrie Irving, even before the news he made off of the court this week. But I can certainly be wrong in these situations. I do know that Kevin Durant is pulling strings there. You do know that Kevin Durant asked for Steve Nash to be fired in the offseason, and while Joe Tsai, the owner of the Nets, did not do that. It has certainly happened. We know this 7 games, not even 10 games into this NBA season. So what Kevin Durant wants is going to be important. I think what Kyrie Irving wants is going to be important. That team working for a coach they want to be there is going to be important. If the Nets have any chance of turning around, I don't think they will in the long term, but their talent says they certainly can, and maybe even will in the short term. Yes, you bring in a coach that those guys want to play for, that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to rally around, that they endorse, if we're being candid, that they have a say in, and the fact that Udoka was a part of that organization before the Celtics hired him, the fact that Durant and Kyrie know what he's about and can sign off knowing what they're getting themselves into, the fact that the Nets organization knows what Udoka's about, not just as a coach, but as it relates to those superstars and all the difficult personalities you have to manage in Brooklyn, it makes a lot of sense.
And Bill, Celtics right now, they're 4-2. So talking about the Celtics more moving forward, do you think that Joe Mazzulla is their guy for the long term?
I do, and Mazzulla is very well respected. In fact, the Utah Jazz, who are supposed to be, Jacqueline, in a rebuilding mode this year, in a tanking mode, I'm not sure if Danny Ainge is excited that they're winning all these basketball games. They wanted to bring him and have him be part of that staff. He's a young guy, and around the NBA, again, this is like sped up narratives and sped up realities. Everybody thought that Mazzulla was going to get absolutely chances to coach in the NBA, a rising star. I'm not sure anyone thought it would happen this quickly, and certainly obviously not with the Boston Celtics. But I think this is his tryout to be that person for the long term, and I think it's one of those tryouts that are happening with Brad Stevens, who runs basketball operations, and that entire organization expecting and having confidence that Mazzulla is going to be successful. And it's early days, but he's certainly done a really nice job early on under very difficult circumstances in Boston.
All right, Bill Ryder joining us here on CBS Sports HQ. Thank you so much, Bill. If you're just joining us, we're following that breaking news out of the NBA, where the Brooklyn Nets are planning to hire Ime Udoka as their next head coach. That was confirmed by Bill Ryder. Taking a look at first-year head coaches to make the NBA Finals in the past 25 seasons, and Ime Udoka, he's up there on that list with the Celtics, doing it just in 2022.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.